That's that one. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is the election. Did we come up with everything?
No, I said, thank you.
I didn't order behind you. I told them I'm going to the city.
Yep, okay. I'm still in the But that's what I'm trying to right?
Now, just so you know,
Really initially get that
I talked to you about the 808 flag announcement. You know what it is?
Good, it's good. Nice. How are you? It's great.
It makes it sport.
There should be one.
They have
Oh, sure. I used to think okay.
No, no. I didn't order one yet. You go to church and get some money. But I need somebody to tell me if it's any fun.
I'm exhausted from like my life.
Yeah, I mean, if it happens done, then we'll move on, you know?
I
Can do it.
May I ask everybody to please stand for the pledge?
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. We have just a brief presentation to make the opening of the meeting before the report and the work session presentation.
Yes, Dr. Ryan, we have a very happy occasion tonight. As many of you know, we have a wonderful high school auto repair program. And last year, our students refurbished a Chevy Tahoe. And I know I have some of the details wrong, but that had been given to the school, not to own, but to refurbish. And tonight, the owners of that Chevy Tahoe will be donating it, the refurbished, beautiful version, good as new, to one of our community veterans. We're very happy to facilitate that. Mr. Johnson, our wonderful auto teacher, do you want to say a few words about what the students did and just how that process went?
Sure. So 2 years ago, we got the Tahoe. It was a disabled community ambulance responder car. My father-in-law over there, he's the treasurer, so he helped us get it. They were gonna auction it off because they thought it needed a head gasket, but we got it here. So why don't you let us try to fix it? So we were able to go through it. Turned out it didn't need a head gasket. It just needed a radiator and some tune-up work. Went through it, top to bottom. Took all the stickers off, cleaned it up, waxed it, polished it, got it running. Put some new tires on it, but the kids, we raised all the money for all the parts. So now it's all good to go, and hopefully we'll have to receive a happy home.
Wonderful.
Aiden Regan and Jafet Velasquez, these two are key in doing all the repairs. And, really worked hard on it to get it going. We're happy to see it go to a good home.
Great job, guys, great job. Dr. Conway, you were pretty instrumental in coordinating this.
Yes, thank you. First of all, kids, thank you so much for coming. You know, our goal in education is best realized when we all work together to bring about a change and to help our community. One way to accomplish this is for the school to work with its community. So when Mr. Johnson from the Auto Club in the Long Beach High School had the idea to help donate the car that his Auto Club had been working on to a member of our community, I suggested a donation to a veteran from our local VFW chapter. The Long Beach VFW picked a worthy recipient, Mr. Joseph Brasky. Mr. Mark McDonald of the Sable Community Ambulance Company has our deepest appreciation of thanks for your generous car donation. But our greatest thanks goes to our students here and to Mr. Jim Johnson. Because of their hard work and determination, you learned how to give. So thank you all for your part in this beautiful endeavor. Thank you.
And we were really hoping it would be nice out tonight so we could do this like Price is Right. You want a new car style, but it's raining and it's dark. So instead, we'd like to invite you forward, and Mr. Johnson would be able to present the keys and get a picture.
I already gave it to him.
Oh. Okay, great. And we have our public relations person here, so maybe if you all come up, students, Mr. Johnson, and we can get a nice picture of the front and back.
Should I go in? Yeah, go down. Yeah.
Oh, whatever stuff.
Or in the background.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again. You are, of course, welcome to stay for our board meeting, but if you have homework to do or other things that are pressing, it's probably.
I'm sorry, can Mr. Joseph Brasky, our veteran, just say one thing?
Sure, absolutely.
Mr. Brasky, if you like.
Okay?
Yeah.
Aiden, just wait 1 second.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
I'm not one at a loss for words very often, and this is very humbling. I don't know how much the community, a lot of people that know Dan McPhee say he's one of the most respected men in Long Beach, and probably the best human being I've ever met. He asked me a couple of years ago to be on the board because he knew I could do what veterans needed. That's what we do. We advocate for veterans like no other. Gandhi once said, sometimes you can find yourself, service to others, you're able to find yourself. And, I used to live in Rockaway Beach for about 10 years. I was going to be the next president of the Little League. And when I told the guy there who built the league for 50 years that I was moving to Long Island, an explicative came out. And it was just a matter of time before it happened in Long Island. And, we had a very powerful day Sunday. We had a gentleman and his vice president from the Veteran Suicide Awareness and Remembrance. They designed a flag. We had a flag raising. We all spoke. And it was very transcendent, very powerful. This is equally powerful. And for the powers that be within Long Beach High School, gentlemen from Sayville, the Auto Club to raise the money, we don't spend enough time enriching each other's lives. We're at a crossroads in our society where we need to decide what kind of world we want to live for future generations. And this is an incredible gesture. And Commander Dan knows that I put my heart and soul into our VFW, which is the most active veterans of foreign war post in Long Island. I've looked around, and there's some great ones, but he knew the importance of getting younger veterans involved. And this whole process, ironically, started 6 months ago when I said I wanted to increase the amount of scholarship money we offer, because our children are our future, right? And just recently, I think, Ann and your husband, right, we were talking about this, and we'd love to be able to come to you, whenever you guys do your scholarship offerings, to be able to come here, not just, they normally come to us, but at least for 1% at Long Beach High School. I think would be tremendous, because it shows our presence. And, veterans are, this is a fraternity like no other. I would say fraternity and sorority. I don't know the right word combining the two yet, but we have such a varied levels of experience. I was in the Navy, and I was in Vietnam as a Marine, Purple Heart recipient. My dad was in Vietnam. My son is now in the Navy in California, Monterey, at the Defense Language Institute, learning Mandarin Chinese. But the experiences we have, the things we've seen, kind of set us apart, and our society can use our wisdom. It's kind of like with elderly people in our society, we dismiss them too much and don't try to embrace them and let their wisdom be a part of our collective. So I just want to thank you all again. It's very impactful to my whole family, especially at the time and the things we're going through. So thank you. Thank you for having me here. Again, thank you guys, the students, the teacher. I mean, sometimes you don't realize how much one person can have an impact on another person's life, and all of you are part of that. Thank you.
Thank you for this. The projector light was in my eye, but I also want to introduce and recognize the VFW Commander Dan McPhee, some of you know this very well. And thank you again so much for everything. Dan, you want to speak?
Sure. I can speak. Well, anyway. Listen, at the VFW, we've been coming here actually for quite a few years when Janet O'Brien, our cow, is my niece. Denise Ford is my niece. So we used to come here and they used to do the veterans. Veterans would come here and the classes would go in and talk to them. And then I guess it was a money issue or something 2 years ago and we stopped. But I just want to let you know, VFW has short pockets, short arms. If you need something, you students, or you need something in your classrooms that you're not getting from the city of Long Beach or whatever, reach out to Ann and Mrs. Conway, and she'll reach out to me. And we are willing to help everybody. As Joe said, children are our most important part, right? This is where they are. So anything we can do for you, Joe, we're raising money on Sunday, and we'll be raising more money for scholarships. So any way we can help you, and I mean anywhere, You don't have a band in English. You had a band, you needed uniforms, we would get it. So we're willing to do anything for anybody, and especially with your kind and generosity of doing something for. Nobody knew Joe, so myself. This is his wife Barbara, by the way. He's a member of the auxiliary. These are his two sons, Jack and Matt. Went on a softball team all the time. They fetch everything for us. They do with the VFW. The only thing I have to pay them with is an ice cream sandwich. But again, I don't want to take up your time. We have a meeting. But anything we could do, please come to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And now we'll begin the regular meeting. You guys are free to stay, but if you want to go, we certainly understand. You guys might have homework to do.
And thank you for your service.
Thanks, everybody.
Tonight, we have our annual presentation of achievement data, to look at the accomplishments of the school district over the past year, and to talk about our district action plan, the goals that we have for this coming year. So I'll introduce Dr. Romanelli, who will walk us through that presentation.
Great. Good, but thank you, I appreciate it. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome, that was a great way to start the meeting tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about our 2020-21 student performance data. This is definitely a unique year for results in terms of student performance, and also then talk about our action plan for the upcoming school year. You want to do? Okay, so
There we go. So you can see from this first slide that although it was an extraordinary circumstances, we really achieved extraordinary things during the course of the year. Nearly 100% graduation rate at our high school. Our students went to some great colleges, and we also had students sent to some military training and career prep programs we're very proud of. We've implemented the TC writing program for the first time last year. We're actually implementing the reading program this year, which we'll give you updates on throughout the year. We began a greenhouse program at the middle school and furthered our district's environmental education program. Did home visits to many highest rates that we saw in Nassau County, actually. And we were named one of the best communities for music for the 12th year. I know we see the banners hanging up around the auditorium here already. We won athletic championships. Our students and coaches received awards in the area of athletics. We were able to get electronic devices and Wi-Fi to our families so everyone had access thanks to our technology department. And we also supported more than 500 fully virtual learners throughout the course of the school year. We were approved as the first district in New York State to use Desmos for the math reading exam, the calculator, which really evened the playing field for our students and many other districts down the line. And we were accepted as one of 50 pilot schools in New York State for the Seal of Civic Readiness, which we'll be launching this year. And we were able to really hold a lot of in-person events. They were modified from previous years, but we were able to do a lot of things that many districts were not able to pull off in terms of concerts, art shows, moving up ceremonies, end-of-the-year events. We are happy to do all those different things creatively to try to have as normal of an end of the school year as possible. So, with all that being said, just looking at the achievement data, we're going to start with elementary. Our elementary students take the NWEA at the beginning, middle, and end of each school year. This is a benchmark assessment that checks students' proficiency in reading and in math. We have some results here posted from 2018, 19, and 21. You'll notice that 2020 is skipped. That was the end of a school year. 2020 we were affected by the pandemic and we were unable to administer the spring assessment of that benchmark. But if you look at these results, these numbers that you see here are the percentage of students that met their growth targets. And a growth target, just for anyone who is wondering about that, NWEA itself, the assessment has a formula. It's taken by about 3 million students across the country and normed so that a student scores a specific score at the beginning of the year. It takes a look at the typical amount of growth and measures that students can meet their growth targets. A few things that you'll notice as takeaways here, and I'll kind of draw your attention to a couple items. Our results in 2021 in both reading and math are either kind of where we were
in reading and math or a little bit up from 2018. Some of the areas are a little bit down from 2019. Things that we can attribute that to, we saw some of our best results in spring of 2019, and we really attribute that to our RAP program at the elementary level, a focus on independent reading at home, and those different types of activities, which we think we really want to get back to and keep promoting that at our homes for our homework for elementary. And you'll see a couple of other things that we did have some areas where we actually made some pretty significant growth, even compared to 2019, which was one of our best years, specifically in grades 3, 4, and 5 math. We had some pretty great progress there. The 5th grade math is really the highest amount of students we've seen in any level meeting proficiency targets. We attribute that really to a lot of the technology that we incorporated in the classrooms. We're actually 1-to-1 now in our elementary classrooms with our carts. We have Chromebooks for all of our students 3 through 5 within the classrooms. K through 2, we have iPad carts, and we're actually at about 12 devices per classroom, which will be pretty close to being up to about 14 or 15 this year, and then we're hoping to be 1-to-1 eventually at the elementary level. We've incorporated a bunch of different new digital programs in math. We have iExcel, Prodigy Math Game for any parents who've seen their children playing that at home. We had a teacher in 5th grade, actually, Mr. McConnell's class, finished first in the nation in the Prodigy Math Game contest this year. And we also saw students answer thousands of questions. Our students in Long Beach answered over 1 million questions in Prodigy Math Game this year. And that was not even things that were assigned. You know, a lot of students were doing that on their own and interested in doing that. When we launched it, we were about to launch it, I think it was on a Monday, we met with the company and they said, we haven't launched yet, but your students have already completed about 200,000 questions on their own. So they were really excited about it and working on that at home. We also added 2 additional AIS math teachers this school year, which we saw some really great results at the elementary level there for supporting our students in the area of mathematics as well. So, you know, one thing we also are really hoping about this year, when you look at the reading scores, we have some, some that are up from 2018, some that are down from 2019. With that recommitment to RAP and really our ability now this year to, as we mentioned, it was not a normal year last year, we know that we'll be able to be working a little more in small groups, conferring with students in the classroom, and we're excited to get back to those practices that we know are really beneficial to our students. Just some pictures here of our elementary. Never like to present just numbers and define just test scores. So some great pictures here. We have Mr. Jones's classroom at East School, one of our STEM programs that we launched at the elementary. Students doing a collaborative build. Some students working on math skills. Miss Samagich's class in 1st grade at West School celebrating International Dot Day. And we had Miss Richards' kindergarten class as well, using Play-Doh to learn their numbers around the tree. That's how you make a 3, using the Play-Doh for that. And Miss Golden, our elementary counselor, introducing the 3 F's, feelings, friends, and family at the elementary level. On to the middle school achievement results. So a few things. First off, you see the Regents exam results. We have algebra and living environment are the 2 Regents exams we offer at the middle school, which students can take in 8th grade. Our algebra results, a few things about the Regents exams. First of all, for those that are not aware, the Regents exams were narrowed down to 4 Regents exams last year only, and the rest were canceled for the year. The 4 exams that were administered were algebra, earth science, living environment, and English. At the middle school, these were the only 2 that we do offer, so we gave both to the students. They were completely optional assessments. However, as you can see by the total students tested, our teachers encourage the students to take these assessments. You know, and they said that you should get some practice for taking the assessments, do the best that you can. The proficiency we see in algebra, and again, it's apples to oranges from year to year with last year, but we do see a 97% proficiency, which is, we're typically more like 99% or 100%. And our mastery is down a little bit from what it is in previous years, but we know that our students are still gonna be able to build up that foundation moving on to the next years of math as well. Living environment, this is the first year that we have administered the living environment Regents at the middle level. We had done earth science in previous years, and we've transitioned to living environment in the 8th grade. Our proficiency level for the first year ever being administered was 92%, mastery was 35%. And I know that our teachers are actually really excited to see what our results will be in this coming year when we are fully in person. Please remember that our students at the beginning of last year, we're in a hybrid model at the middle school. Some students were fully virtual, some students were in person, some students every other day, and other students were in person every day. So we did have a lot of challenges, but with that, these were our Regents results for last school year. And we're looking forward to building on those. We also implemented a new benchmark assessment system. I know that this may be a little bit tough to see from in the seats, but hopefully you have a handout. I can see it a little bit more clearly. For the iReady is the assessment that we are administering at the middle school. iReady is an assessment of reading and math. This is the first year again that we were administering the iReady at the middle school. So we kind of were tweaking the different ways in which to administer it, and really the assessment method, we settled on an assessment block in the morning on specific days, one for reading and one for math. You can see that on the iReady growth, we have about 47% of students meeting their typical growth, and we have 19% of students meeting their stretch growth. What that means is that a typical growth is the amount of growth that a student is supposed to make within that school year. And the stretch growth is if a student is scored, let's say, well below grade level, and trying to get them to grade level will be a stretch. That's a stretch growth item that we had 19% of students meet. You can see also for iReady Math, the results were pretty similar as well. And the one area that, just to take a look at, we wanted to be able to target the students that you see on the side here that are in need of Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 instruction. We really want those to be almost inverted. We want to see more green than we do red at the top. So we have a lot of students that are in need of academic support. One area that the middle school is focusing on this year in terms of professional development, they're going to be doing data chats in the classroom with students, so really taking a look at their results and talking to them about setting growth targets for themselves and how they can meet that growth target. The iReady report also gives you a bunch of additional information. You can see this is a student reading report. It'll tell you really specifically by domain in reading what areas that the student has for strengths, what areas are areas they need to work on. And teachers can actually group students within their classes based on this. So they can give small group instruction to students that all have the same areas that they're looking to focus on. And it's really a great way for them to be able to differentiate within the classroom. So again, first year we were administering that assessment. We piloted it last year. We're evaluating it and seeing if the data that we're going to use is going to be able to inform our instructional practice in the classroom. And we're going to keep at that and keep looking at that assessment. Again, half of our students were taking this at home at times. So we do want to just, again, take a look this year at our results and see, can be able to compare with this last school year. Just some pictures here from the middle school as well. We see recently a beach cleanup that was done over the weekend this year, beautification in the top right. We had our school greenhouse launched last year. We have some hands-on experiments in the math and science classrooms. Guinness Book of World Records broken at the middle school last year. Our Odyssey of the Mind team competed in the World Championship. And we have our Beautiful Me program that was launched last year as well. So a lot of great stuff going on at the middle school. That brings us to our high school achievement data. We mentioned the Regents exams from the middle school. These are our Regents results at the high school level. Again, these are the only 4 Regents exams that were administered. You can see the passing grades for algebra, living environment, earth science, and English, and also the mastery rates. Our mastery was a little bit down, and our proficiency was a little bit down in all 4 of the Regents exams. Again, as we said, you can see the total students tested at the bottom. Although we only see, 50, 60, 70 students tested, I can tell you that just in looking around other districts and speaking to other districts, we actually did have more students test than many other places. Our teachers came in last year and really, did a great job teaching the material and working with students and encouraging them to try this out and see how well that they did. The Regents in New York State have also decided that any student who did not want to keep their grade was allowed to challenge that and have that removed from their transcript. We had about 90 students take advantage of that at the high school. So basically our students that, parents received information of how they could remove the grade from the transcript. Our counseling department worked with students, and anybody who achieved below mastery, they met with them, and the Regents score was removed from their transcript. It's actually replaced with an E for exemption, and we have been assured that that does not negatively impact students at all. Any students that actually did not take the assessment received an E as well. So it's kind of like, you can take the assessment, if you like your grade, great, and if not, you could receive the E on the Regents exam for last year. So a little bit unique to previous years. If you take a look here at the AP results, you can see that in 2020, just a note, which was 2 years ago, all students took their exam virtually at home on their Chromebook. That was that previous spring where we were all fully virtual. 2021, we had kind of a unique model for the AP assessments. You could choose as a school to give the assessment in person in school on paper, give the assessment in person in school on the computer, or at home on the computer as well. So different courses actually, different students selected different things, different courses did different things. And we had about 80% of our students take this exams in school on paper, and 20% of our students take them online. The in-person, in-paper results were actually better than we saw in our online results when taking a look at that data. And we had about half our students successful on the assessments, which is slightly lower than previous years on AP assessments. For our IB results, again, just like everything else, it was not a typical year for the IB assessments either. And just regarding testing for last school year, students were actually scored based on their internal assessments, their practical work they did with their classroom teacher. So you can see up here that we had about 296 students taking at least one exam. We had a pretty typical number of diploma candidates. Actually, the most amount of tests given that we've had, and 60 students granted the diploma. Number of scores greater than 4 was 668, which was actually up from previous years. And that's defined as students scoring a 4 or above in IB. And if you take a look at the percentage of students that were successful, 95% of our diploma program students were successful, and overall, 74% of students that were successful. We have many students that do take an IB course or two, but are not enrolled in the diploma program. So those students are represented in the overall amount there. And just as a note, testing for this school year does return to an in-person testing model using a modified curriculum. All IB classes resume a full curriculum expectation this year with return to the full testing model either this year or next year if you're in a 2-year course. Just some pictures here from the high school. We've been having some great broadcasts from our TV studio, which launched recently this school year. They've been putting out broadcasts to the staff. Some different examples of book club around the building and some bookcases set up for our students. So a lot of outdoor learning taking place, some peer evaluations and feedback to one another. We just recently had a colleges in the commons event at the high school as well. Up there. We had a really successful summer school. 100% of our students earned credit for passing coursework. And again, Mr. Balsamo led our summer school this year. The staff did a great job of just meeting up with students. We had great attendance in our class, and we really monitored students. And the teachers worked really hard to get students to pass their courses this year. The requirement at the end of summer school this year was not to pass a Regents exam, as it typically is. It was to pass the course, and New York State allowed that if a student passed a course that typically culminated in a Regents exam, they were given full credit for the course itself. So that was another motivator that we really wanted our students to be able to pass these courses at summer school, and we were very successful. And that brings us to the action plan for this year, for this current school year. We met as an administrative team, took a look at all this data, and took a look at the action plan that we wanted to create for our district based on all the work last year and our priorities on behalf of our students. We've narrowed it down to a couple of areas, which I'll just go through with you real quick. We really want to support our students in their return to school, focusing on social, emotional, mental health needs. We added an additional mental health and wellness committee meeting at a suggestion that was made last meeting here. We'll actually be meeting on Thursday of this week first to launch a couple different things. We have school events coming up, check-ins, and different targeted support. We want to continue our work on the profile of a graduate and create alignment guides related to our current practices. We really want to continue to implement health and wellness practices around physical education, play, nutrition, mindfulness. That's going to be some district committee work, and we're also going to be looking to build local partnerships and do some campaigns. We want to continue to strengthen our literacy program. As we mentioned before, we had a full implementation of the Teachers College Writing Program last year, and we are launching the reading program this year at all of our elementary schools. And we want to recommit to our RAP program at the elementary level as well. And we're also looking to implement a elementary after-school enrichment program. Parents will be hearing about that actually next week. We've really been just finalizing all the opportunities this week, getting advisors, and you'll start hearing about it next week. The program is actually going to launch on October 12th, which is the day after Columbus Day. It'll be Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Schools have a lot of great offerings after school that students will be able to attend, and then they can either get picked up to head home or take the bus home, which we will be providing transportation, which is great as well. And just finally, on our last slide here, just a couple more items. We're really looking to build our environmental education and STEM programs. We have some really exciting projects going on. We mentioned our greenhouse at the middle school. We'll also be adding some greenhouses to our 4 elementary schools. We have a partnership with Cold Spring Harbor Labs that allows them to come into our classes and do hands-on labs at our middle school and high school. Also in our elementary STEM classes, students can go on field trips to the DNA lab, and we're also partnering with them for a summer camp experience where they'll be coming to Long Beach and offering an opportunity to our students that will be, again, covered by the district and opportunity. We're partnering with Jones Beach Nature Center. We're building up our science research program, and we're also looking to build our robotics program, which is very exciting. We want to continue to promote and evaluate equitable instructional practices through our community partnerships, making students that have full access to technology, and also providing academic support. As we saw from some of this data, we want to be able to identify the students that need the academic support and provide it for them, whether it be in school or at home. And we also want to take a look at our enrollment trends, continue to determine the best use of space in our buildings, looking at the potential. This year currently we are actually down in our kindergarten enrollments. So we have one less section in kindergarten at East and West. And the way we look at that is also the potential that we have then for even new programs. Do we want to take a look at expanding on our pre-K program? If we have additional space in our buildings, currently it's housed at Lido, currently we do a half day. Is there an opportunity for a full day of pre-K, things like that? So looking at our different programs and what we have available in terms of funding and in terms of space. And also finally, just develop some plans for some long-term solutions to transportation issues that we have. I'm sure if you're reading the news, you've seen that there is a bus driver shortage. It's a challenge everywhere. But we want to look at models that work for transportation. We do a lot of work there as a district, and we want to be able to take a look at our levels of service and ways that we can do that as successfully as possible to meet the needs of our families. So that's our goals for our action plan for this year, and I'll take any questions or comments from the board this time.
I don't have any questions per se. I have a few comments. So first of all, thank you. This is just a really in-depth presentation, and I think it just highlights that, we were met with so many challenges, and I love seeing all the extraordinary, awesome things. I want to thank you for adding in under sending students to these Ivy League schools that you also acknowledge our students to take alternate paths, such as military career preparation. I think it's always important to know students always have one way of going, so there's various different. So thank you for adding that into the presentation. And I love hearing about Desmos and the progress we're making with math, and it looks like that's highlighted here in the data. So I'm really happy to see that as well. I think those are my only comments for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Romanelli. Thank you so much for your presentation, putting it together. I do love seeing the pictures of the children, so thank you. That's a nice touch. I do have a concern though, just like as I heard in your voice about the reading scores. So I know that you have plans ahead for this school year. So you keep on talking about the RAP program. So I guess the first part of my question is, how are you going to utilize the RAP program so it supports all of our students with their reading?
Well, I think that, first and foremost, I'll talk about in school and out of school. RAP, is specific to your question. That really just commitment to reading, whether at home, that really is what we see as our number one indicator of student achievement when it comes to elementary level work at home. Rather than traditional homework practices of completing a worksheet or something along those lines, students reading at home on their own or with their family we do see great results there in reading growth. We saw that in 2019, when we first launched the program, and we had a lot of buy-in there, and that was really big, something that was going on initiative across the district. We attributed a lot of our growth that year to that, so we really want to get back to that. And we also, I mentioned a little bit in the presentation, we feel that we were, unable due to the pandemic for a couple things. I know you as an educator yourself in an elementary classroom, conferring, meeting with students one-on-one, being able to do, small group work at the kidney meeting table, and getting to know students in that way. We're back to that, this year, and I'm seeing that when I walk around classrooms in our elementary buildings, and we're excited about that. So we know that we have the good foundation there. With our launch this year of the TC reading program, we chose to do writing first as a strategic rollout, and that's something that TC does recommend, that if you're going to roll out the program, writing first and then reading. It's a little bit of a bigger launch for the reading program, and we actually have all the materials that we need for teachers this year. So between the ability of us to, recommit to the RAP program, to publicize, all those different ideas of the program, and Dr. Radis and I are going to work on doing that this year. Getting back to our instructional practices in the classroom, we know that work, and also, building on our rollout of TC reading, I think we're going to really do have some great results for this year.
You actually answered the second part of my question, was how are you going to help to strengthen it within the classroom? Just as a quick side note, are the children allowed to bring home books from school this year?
Yes.
Okay, so that's wonderful too. I know that the hybrid model, the tests don't show that it was very beneficial to our students, and that being in person is really the key to helping our students grow.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you bring that up. I'm sorry, was that the end of your question?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so just even looking at the NWE results for the elementary school, as you know, I was able to supervise the elementary virtual program last year. We disaggregated this data, really deeply. And when I originally had put it in the slides, I had the in-person results and virtual results, to take a look at, so I can share those with you if you do want to see them. What we saw was that overall, the virtual results were a little bit lower than the in-person results. And that, overall as a model, that the in-person model definitely works better. We did see 1 or 2 grade levels, actually kindergarten and first grade reading, were a little bit higher in the virtual model, which was very interesting. And also, there were some students in the virtual model that made the most growth that they've ever made, but others that did not, that really was not a beneficial model for them at all. So I think that kind of supports the idea, that we've been saying for a long time, that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to education. A model like that may work for some students and may not for others. But overall, that the in-person instruction was more beneficial.
Right, and then I was looking at, I agree with you, thank you. I was also looking at your middle school student reports, and I was dismayed at seeing how many children are in the red,
Right.
as you pointed out. You spoke a little bit about that, how teachers are going to help to combat it, but are there any other plans to really help provide students with the support they need to strengthen their reading and math skills in middle school? Because I know there's also content as well. So you're kind of walking on, not
Right.
solid ground so much.
Right. Well, we actually, at the middle level, we've really looked at our AIS support, you know, and the classes that we're offering. We've looked at a lot of data to identify what students can benefit from reading and math AIS. That's really the tier 2 and 3 intervention that we're talking about in the yellow and the red. You know, the green is typically the interventions that can take place within the classroom for students on or above grade level. But we've looked at targeted groups within our AAS sections. And we've also taken a look at, you know, different strategies that we can utilize within those sessions for AAS for students. And within the classroom, the green tier 1 piece, there are going to be teachers, I kind of mentioned, that doing the data chats with students and taking a look at being able to differentiate instruction. This was the first year that we did roll this assessment out, the iReady. So we're still kind of, you know, we're a little hesitant about the results, to be honest with you, because you know, this is the first time students were taking this assessment. As we mentioned, some were at home, some were at school. So we're going to look we're going to look at the fall results and see kind of where we can go from there. We're going to start posting them online for parents as well. They can access them in the portal, because it's conversations we want to have with parents as well when they get the results to take a look at too.
Okay, so you'll be able to explain to the parents as
Yeah,
well.
I would just add too, I think Dr. Romanelli alluded to this, but we do have some concerns about the test validity itself. The format of iReady may not be the best format to assess middle school students. It's a very long virtual test. It's very formulaic, and you know, we need to give it another year under normal circumstances. It has benefits in terms of the instructional data that comes from it, in terms of really targeting what skills students need, but it may not, some of this may be the test itself.
Right, and if I could add to that, you know, in the suggested rollout, when you are launching iReady as a school district, you know, you give the assessment the first year, you figure out how it works best for your school, and then in the second year, it's more of a focus on taking a look at the reports that come with the data, making the instructional changes within the classroom, being able to group students, and then being able to see the results that, you know, that come with that. But we're going to look at that. This is a pilot right now, and if we don't feel that this is a beneficial assessment for our students, then we'll look to pivot from there.
Okay, thank you. I'm very excited about your goals that we're looking forward to, your supports that you put in, the action plan for this coming year. I really thank you all for doing as much as you can to help all of our students. I'm just hoping that we can show our school weekly highlights so our community can see all the hard work and the dedication of our staff.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Romanelli, once again for a great presentation. You have a way with making things like data somewhat intriguing, and appreciate that. Thank you also for including some pictures, because a lot of what's included in the data of the successes of our children honestly can't be included in data. It has to be shown in pictures. It's kind of frustrating to see, and I guess it's just a creation of last year, how our numbers were, I guess, reflective of the challenges that what we faced. We were pretty excited when the RAP program really brought some achievements. I know that we made the cover of Newsday for that, and we were able to show some good statistics and data off that, and I'm looking forward to us continuing that. And I guess it really just brings back the point of our importance for continuity of instruction. I guess, you know, Ms. Conway really brought up the continuity of instruction for our kids is really going to impact their growth. And we got to do everything we can to maintain that. And I also appreciate the fact you included the importance of tangible and the manipulatives, tangible education, hands-on interaction within the presentation, because I'm not a huge fan of data. I mean, you guys said that assessment may not have been the perfect fit for us. Data is important. It's important to look at trending to see what works. But these assessments are not really 100% reflective of how our kids are achieving their needs and reaching their goals. So I'm happy that you included all those other aspects of it. I want to really make sure that we're focusing on kids reaching the level of mastery, right? That's our main objective, not proficiency. And how are we going to really provide that? I mean, listen, not every person is going to reach mastery, but how are we really providing that? Because those numbers are really not where we want it to be. And I know where we're trying to go with mastery, but that's still our objective, correct?
Correct, and I can just add, Mr. Pinto, you know, when I talk to teachers in these testing areas we presented, our directors, our building administrators, we're not satisfied with those numbers that we're putting out today. I know there was a unique year. There are some bright spots and not others that we want to really take a look at, but we know that we are better than those numbers, and we are excited to be able to, I'm excited to be able to stand here, next year around this time and present the great leaps that we have made with it. Mastery is what we should always design for. We should not design for proficiency. We should design for mastery. Traditionally, our mastery had been going up each year, which was a big plus, and we were trending in the right direction there. So we do believe that when we do take a look at it again, we'll look at our previous year mastery results and kind of be able to compare them.
Yeah, I
in the coming
think,
years.
we did not put in the chart that tracks Regents results year to year, which we always do, because it really was apples to oranges last year.
I couldn't hear that answer.
Sorry, we didn't put in, I shouldn't turn my head away from the microphone, the year-to-year Regents chart that we usually do, because it really was apples to oranges last year. Not all kids took the exam. Those who did took it with the knowledge that it didn't count. And that's a very different attitude going into an exam that requires some level of preparation and study. I think just human nature would have you go in and say, well, I'll give it a try, but I'm not going to stay up all night studying for an exam that isn't even going to appear anywhere on my transcript. And that's on top of the challenges of instruction last year. So, I think when we look at our district's overall progress, we have to look at the years up to this year and the years past this year.
Yeah, great. And I just want to reiterate a thank you to everyone who was involved in instruction this year. It was a really challenging year, and I think if it wasn't for everyone's efforts, we would not have been as successful as we were.
Mrs. Verona?
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. First I would just want to say, we've had really packed meetings for months on end here, and tonight we are talking about what I think is the bottom line of what my job is up here, and there's hardly anybody here. So I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be the most depressed that I get at a board meeting all year, because there's nobody here. So if anybody sees
People
me at the
are
grocery
maybe
store,
watching
it's
online
fine.
though, right?
Eight people are watching online.
We do have people in the audience, though.
I see them.
Yes.
I see them. I can. I'm counting you, take it. Okay. So anyway, I find it very difficult to follow the data when we, this is now I think my 7th or my 8th presentation on this data and on performance. And it seems to me like every time I get a handle on it, we change the metric, and now we don't have anything. So now we have iReady, iMath, iRead, whatever it is, and we don't know if it's good for us. It doesn't look like the results are coming out very good, and we don't have anything to balance it on. I mean, I can recall that 5 or 6 years ago, a third of our students coming into the high school from middle school were below grade level readers. And it looks to me like that, I can't really read it because I don't have anything to compare it to, but it looks to me like we're pretty much there. So are we saying that all of this, everything that I'm going to question now, is all because of COVID? Would we have the same, like last year not last year, but the year before, I was so thrilled with our RAP results. But are we saying that everything that's happened since then, like we could just, I read an article today. It says the Brookings Institute says that our students lost 30% of their expected learning gains in reading and 50% in math. And I look at this, and the only one I can really look at is the elementary, because it's the only one that gives me a comparison. But I look at the elementary, and it looks like we're back to where we were pre-RAP.
In some areas we're right where we were at. And I would say that the difference that you see between the elementary and middle high school results, we were fully in person or fully virtual at the elementary level. Students had that continuity of instruction, whether they chose one model or the other. It was a big challenge at the middle school and high school.
Okay.
for that
But
hybrid
just, all
model.
right, so then, I forgot about that. So considering that all of our elementary kids were either there or not there by choice, wouldn't we have had better scores in this? Because we did have the continuity of instruction that we fought so hard to get this year.
Yeah, we did have better scores in some areas, and others are kind of back where we saw in 2008, a little bit up from there, but a little bit down from 2019. We did have times where students throughout the year were quarantined last year. We're thankfully have a lot less of that this year. And there were breaks in continuity last year, even in our elementary program. We saw that the virtual program wasn't as good of results as the in-person program as well. So we lost some ground there. So really the in-person instruction every day, I think when we see that at the elementary, middle, and high school, is going to show that we really are where we were, and that we are going to show that our results are where they need to be. So there was a lot of effect from COVID, yeah.
All right, so my only takeaway from this elementary data is that we should be talking to our second grade reading teachers and our third, fourth, and fifth grade math teachers, because they seem to have figured out the magic formula for getting kids to continue to learn. Okay, so then we get to.
That is something that we do, by the way, too, Mrs. Verona. We take a look at all different class results, and our teachers are very collegial in the way that they'll talk to one another on a grade level about someone who maybe had stronger results on something or not, and really, put our heads together to benefit all the kids.
Okay, so when you were talking to Mr. Pinto just a few minutes ago, you were saying, or he was saying, he was talking about where are we trying to go with mastery. What are we trying to achieve with mastery, both at the middle school level with the 2 regencies that they take, and at the high school level? I mean, again, it seems to me we don't have any comparison on our Regents results for the high school from other years. But it seems to me that pre-COVID, like do it just like you did with the elementary. Pre-COVID, it seems to me we had like a 50% mastery in
Right.
English. Is that true? Yes, that's that.
Yeah, and the least, actually, it's interesting that you bring that up, Ms. Verona, because the least affected of the Regents exams was English. It was pretty close there. It was right around 50, and our proficiency rate was right in the high 80s. So the closest of any of the 4 was English. It's a different type of assessment too. The English Regents is not necessarily one that you can study for, whereas the other ones, you may need to retain a little bit
We've
more.
all been talking English and reading English for, not all of us, but many of us have been doing it for our whole lives. I thought
Right.
English was the place, the Regents, that we would hold up as saying, this is where we want to be.
And we
This
did
is what
though.
we
I mean,
wanna
I'm
do.
saying that we had a slight drop off, but of all the assessments that we gave, that was the most typical of any of the Regents exams from previous
Mrs.
years.
Verona, I would just remind you that 53 out of 300 kids took the exam.
Right. So we do think that if all of our students did take that assessment,
Well, that's true. Okay, then. But I can recall other years, pre-COVID years, where we've had 0% mastery in algebra, in trigonometry, in algebra 2, in whatever the other courses now called. Like, so, these mastery figures that we're talking about here aren't so different from our pre-COVID, to my recollection. Maybe they are.
these 4, the other 3, Algebra 1, Living Environment, and Earth Science, are well below what they were in mastery in previous years. And if you'd like, I could share with you the
What
previous
was
year report.
mastery in 20? Do we remember what mastery was in 2019?
I
Do you remember?
can tell you, I can get it for you in a minute. I can pull it up on last year's presentation, but it was around double. It's obviously more than double 0, but or up about 20% on each of them.
So then we get into this. I'm learning all about the difference between correlation and causation. Did COVID cause all of this learning loss, or is there just a correlation between that? Does it behoove us to look at the fact that we're now offering living environment in 8th grade instead of 9th grade? Did that affect our mastery rate? I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't know that we know.
We can't possibly know the answers to those questions until we have a full complement of students taking these exams under normal circumstances when they've had a full instructional year and know that the exam matters to them. That's exactly what we were saying. To put this against prior year's results is ridiculous. There's no comparison at all.
I think that's true then of all of this. I find this data very unhelpful, even when we get to the IB results. You know, our score, our diploma candidates percentage-wise went up. But guess what? It's the teachers teaching the course that decide if the kid gets the diploma. It's not.
Well, that's not exactly true.
Yeah, they
That's
did
not
use
true.
a formula
Yeah.
based on historic results so that it couldn't be skewed. So that's a way that IB did that to prevent from, teacher bias in the grading system.
Well, all right.
I can tell you about the,
I'm not criticizing this. I understand that it was a difficult year, but I think that we just need to
Algebra 1, the mastery in 2019 was 33%. Living environment was 50. Earth science was 51, and English was 50. So you're absolutely right, it was right around 50%. Algebra 1 was slightly lower, but definitely not zero. It was 33% for mastery.
Oh, I know, geometry, that's the one I was
Right.
thinking of. That's always close to zero. 17% to 12%.
Well, that wasn't, again, that wasn't
blocked
offered
it
this
out
last
because
school
it
year.
was so bad. Geometry's its own animal. Okay, so what are we looking for with mastery? Are we looking for 50%? Are we looking for, I don't know, what are we looking for?
So we're looking for growth, number one, which we are seeing that trend in the right direction. If you do look through these previous years, it was trending in the right direction. We believe that this school year, it will also be trending in the right direction. We're hopeful that it will be up, from where we were prior to the pandemic. That's really all of our goals, that we won't have missed a step and that we can get back to where we need to be. We regularly look at every district in Nassau County's results, where they are in terms of proficiency and mastery on every single regions. And we want to be, in the top, if there's 50 or 60 districts, we want to be in, if we're in between 20 and 40, our goal is to be between 1 and 20, so we're constantly looking to improve our standing amongst districts in Nassau County and growth within our district internally.
Yeah, I'm just personally, I'm less concerned with our standing vis-a-vis other schools. I would like to see growth in our district amongst our
Agreed.
students.
Agreed.
I don't know. So I'm not faulting anybody for these. I feel like every single year we have this presentation and every single year it's the same thing for me. I see less mastery than I want to see.
But that's not true. That is not true. The last 2 years prior to COVID, all of these scores went up, including mastery. This is the first year that we didn't do this presentation last year because we had no data. The 2 years before that, our instruction improved every single year. So it's not accurate to say that we're not changing at all.
Okay, so then maybe, even if it's apples to oranges, for somebody like me, it's good to put those prior years in there.
I can share that with you, Mrs. Ronan.
All
I
right,
have it
that would be
already
great.
done, so.
That would be great. All right, thank you, I do appreciate it. It may sound like I don't appreciate it, but I absolutely do appreciate the work that you put into this.
Thank you.
And I'm thrilled with the action plan. I hope that it's what we need this year. I think getting the kids back, as everybody has talked about, is going to be pretty helpful. And I'm thrilled to see that solving the transportation problems is up there on the list. Thank you.
Yeah, I suspect I'll be easier than Mrs. Verona. Dr. Romanelli, I just have a few questions or concerns. The first is I was pleased to hear that the EAS teachers that were hired at the elementary school you felt made a significant difference or a good difference in terms of student performance. So that certainly seems to be money well spent. And I'm happy to hear about that. Secondly, I would prefer, or in the future, I would like to see the data disaggregated. I'd like to see by gender, and I'd like to see by ethnicity. I've always had a concern in the past decade that boys are underperforming and boys are underachieving. And I'd like to see that either validated or not by the data in this district. When I see National Honor Society ceremonies where there are twice as many girls as boys, and other kinds of academic celebrations, I'm just concerned about the achievement of males. So I'd like to see that in the future. I'd like to ask you in terms of NISMA. NISMA wasn't addressed in terms of achievements during the year. In terms of how did our children fare in terms of NISMA through elementary, middle school, and high school?
I can get you that, exactly.
I'd appreciate that as well. I guess my last point, probably my most important, is do you feel personally and professionally that the NWEA is a good assessment for elementary children?
Well, I can tell you that there are two benchmark assessments that are highly regarded in the educational world, or in elementary and middle school, and that's the iReady and the NWEA. The reason being that there's so many students that take the assessment, that the way that the data is normed, it's considered more reliable. And when setting something like growth targets, which is what we're reporting on, I think it is a valuable measure because it takes out the subjectivity piece, maybe within the classroom. We don't have the New York State data reported. I know it's something that you talk about sometimes. So with the state testing, it's currently embargoed till October. So now I'll just have it publicly. But we did see that the results were pretty indicative of what we're seeing on the state test. So to me, if what we're seeing on the NWEA is matching what the state testing results are showing, then it is valuable, which does seem to be the case.
Because I personally have my own concerns, but I'll certainly defer to you. But I'm hoping that we use that data, and you sort of alluded to it in one of your responses already, in conjunction with teacher grades and in conjunction with teacher findings in terms of reading scores, as how teachers find the kids academically in the class and how they find them in terms of that. So that's something that I'm always told we do, and I just hope that we do that, because it seems to me, whether it's the SATs in high school and college, the teacher grades are the most reliable indicator of student performance. And my last comment, it's certainly not a denigration of the presentation or whatever, just the system. I still think we're trying to make elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and high schools, colleges. I'm not so sure we are identifying the right kids to be taking the tests. And I think we're creating a lot of stress for the system. And I'm not faulting you, I'm not faulting anybody, I'm faulting society. That we find kids in junior and senior year who have so much time on their hands because they basically finished all their courses, that we're pushing them to take earth science, we're pushing them to take geometry, I think developmentally when they're not ready. And I think that's sort of endemic in society, and I think we need to be aware of that. So I thank you for the presentation. I know it's not easy, one, to put it together, and then two, to put up with us in terms of our concerns and questions. But I certainly know that you and your cohorts and central administration are doing everything you can to keep up with and to improve student achievement, because like Mrs. Rona says, it is why we're here. And this is probably the most important presentation in terms of the year, for the school year, for us and for the district. So thank you. And once again, I'm just going to say publicly that if you need other supports, if you needed AIS to elementary, the board saw fit to do it. If you see other areas where you think kids need support to improve academic achievement, musical achievement, whatever it is, then please let us know. We'll certainly listen, hopefully help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Ryan, I have one more question. Could I ask?
Sure, please.
If the state wants us to use the results of the state exams, the 3 to 8 we're talking about, if they want us to use that to inform instruction the following year, why is it embargoed until October? How is that helping us if it's embargoed?
I can answer that if you don't mind. Because
Okay.
there's one person working up at state ed, and it's Lily Tomlin. And she is on the phone and she is doing the work for everybody. That is why.
Okay.
And this is the latest that we've been able to receive the results in a long, long time.
Okay. Questions and comments from the public on the work session topic only? I'm just gonna ask, Mrs. Ocasio, there are wipes underneath there, so if in fact you need to take off your mask, clean the microphone. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll just have the individuals do it, Ms. Dolan, that'll be easy, you can. Yes.
Turn it on. Switch up, it's on, switch up. Is this any better? That one's not, yeah. Try to switch up. Yes, yes. What do you see on,
I don't need, so I can just talk.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
loud
good,
enough.
good, yeah.
We're so crowded here, we can probably hear you.
There we go. Hi. Okay, so two things. One, I know. So the first thing is, I know you're talking about like reading scores and things like that. I've said this before time and time again. Dr. Romanelli and I have had numerous conversations. I've had conversations with guidance. But since you brought it up, I'm going to address it here. Children in elementary school, they get scored on math. They go to the middle school, they get scored on Lexile. You say that you have a lot of kids that show up to the middle school that aren't at academic level for reading. If you look at math and you look at Lexile, 5th grade math and 5th grade Lexile don't line up. So you are never going to have children coming into the middle school, in my opinion, what I've seen, that are where they're supposed to be, unless you keep using the same system from beginning to end, or find one where their 5th grade and 5th grade line up, 6th grade, maybe even for 5th grade and 6th grade. It's a lot of testing, but do math and Lexile 5th grade, do math and Lexile 6th grade, so you can see where it fits in. So that's just my observation. My other thing is talking about the accelerated classes. Again, Dr. Romanelli, you and I have spoken about this for the past 3 years, but we allow our children the opportunity to take these accelerated classes, biology, algebra, while in middle school. Taking algebra out of it, just the biology, we allow these children to take biology without making sure that their reading comprehension and capabilities are up to par with the biology curriculum. We have to make sure that these kids can comprehend the information. I mean, I understand that it's a parent choice, a student choice, but everybody wants to try, and reach for the stars. I feel like in that aspect, without making sure that the children, they're reading, we're setting them up to fail.
is it okay if I comment on that?
Sure, thank you.
So just two things. I think it's a great point about being aligned K through 8 with our benchmark assessments. That's something that we're in discussions about internally, whether that's the NWEA K through 8 or iReady K through 8 or whatever it may be, whatever system is out there. That's something that we have been talking about. Students, when they do, initially when we talked about that at the middle school, there is a little bit of a testing fatigue for NWA when students had gone into 6th grade. So we looked for a different model, but we have also been looking to use those benchmarks in the transition years, like even for reading with 8th grade to 9th grade. We're using iReady and actually assessing students in both grades to see, not be comparing apples to orange like you're talking about. So it's something that we're looking to do in the transition years right now, but that we do eventually think is something that's important that we want to move to K through 8. And that was actually the motivator just in regards to living environment. One of the motivators, there are many, of moving living environment to the middle school, because we do feel that we actually have that reading support, a more robust reading support in the 8th grade than we did in high school for that. And it is a very heavy, you're totally right, it's a very heavy literacy-based course. So that's something we're taking a look at. This is the first time we've had readings results to look at. And again, I know that they're not perfect, but it is that if we do need to put in reading supports, we know that we can help children. We don't want people to not be able to access the living environment course without having the proper support. So we can provide those at the middle school. So that's a very good point.
Can I just comment on what you said? So my experience, and I know last year was a different year, so it may have just been this, but when we were looking for extra help for the students, it was afforded to everybody in the middle school, with the exception of biology and algebra, because those are accelerated classes. And it was assumed, I believe, that since they were taking accelerated classes, they didn't need the extra help. So are we going to put that back into place? I mean, it doesn't pertain to me anyway. My kids are both in the high school now. I'm just speaking for the children coming in, that when they're taking accelerated classes, it doesn't negate the fact that they need extra help, tutoring, whatever the case is. Just because they're taking a harder class, they still struggle. So I just got a little frustrated last year when there was so many extra helps being issued, and then I said, well, what about biology and algebra? Oh, well, those are accelerated classes, we're not doing that. So I just feel like even though they are accelerated, they should have the same supports as any class, if that's part of their curriculum. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Tassi.
Thank you.
Hi, Jody Gessler, 71 Barn Street. Just a couple of things about the comments some of the board members made. With National Honor Society, the lack of boys in there, I don't think it's a matter of their grades, and I think that would be something you want to look at. How many people are invited to join National Honor Society, as opposed to how many people actually join. So that would be something to look at to see if there is a discrepancy in the grading of the boys and the girls. Because a lot of the boys will be like, honestly, I'll tell you, because I have kids this age, but mine are girls, and my daughter still doesn't want to do the 40 hours of community service that comes with it, and they read that and they go, I'm not doing this. So that might be a reason we don't see as many boys there, just one opinion. The English Regents was 53 out of 315 kids. So to look at the master rate of 53 kids out of 315, I know, again, back to the children who said, I don't have to take it, why am I gonna take it? So again, even the top students, there are IB students who are great writers, said, I don't wanna go to school an extra day, 3 hours. So just all these things last year that made such a difference. And actually, with what Heather was just talking about, with the accelerated classes and asking for extra help, and we kind of differ a little about this because I've had this discussion for years that it comes down to guidance of does that child really belong in that class? I will tell you a story about my children. Both my children took the earth science and algebra in 8th grade and did well. Both were told to take honors bio in high school. My first child went to honors bio, and I sat in Miss Blue's class at back to school night and said, when I listened to what's expected, I said, does my child belong here? She said, absolutely, your child belongs here. And my child worked hard, and she learned so much that year, and she's not a science student, but she got so much of her study skills and everything from that bio honors class. I can't tell you how much I appreciate Miss Blue for that. My second child, going into her 8th grade meeting with her guidance counselor for 9th grade, I said, repeat after me. I am not, my mother will not let me take honors bio because she was a different child. Were her grades there? Absolutely. But did she have a different stress level? Did she have a different time management? Absolutely. So I think, and had I not been the parent that I am, I would have said, oh my God, they want her to take honors bio. She's going to take honors bio. And I would have put her in. So I think it comes down to the guidance of looking at the student, the teacher. Like, I think you really need to talk to the teachers and see, are these kids getting these grades for whatever reason? I just think that.
Just one comment, I totally agree with you, and I think it's not only teachers and guidance, but it's helping parents to have realistic expectations, that not everyone has to be an accelerated student. And that, this year, 19% of our graduates went on to military, world of work, career preparation programs. 18% of our graduates went to 2-year colleges. our students may have different career paths and post-secondary paths in mind. And I think we have to shift our mindset as a society to what Dr. Ryan said before about helping students to see all of those pathways as equally valuable.
I absolutely agree, so I just wanted to comment on my little.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Sir?
I wasn't texting, I was.
Would you give me your name and address, sir, please?
Yeah, Sean Pastucci, 428 West Market.
Thank you.
Forgive me for referring to my notes. I have some questions for you. The first question is, what is the difference between a regular meeting and a work meeting? I'm asking because I didn't think I was supposed to come tonight until I found out I can come to a work meeting. So I'm curious as to what the answer to that is.
Yeah, work session is generally the board selects a topic. We've selected probably 6 or 7 for the course of the year to talk about publicly, whether it's student achievement, whether it's adult ed, whether it's music and athletics or whatever. So that is basically the theme for the meeting, and there's really not any business that we conduct other than the presentation. You won't see any appointments, any voting on this teacher, any voting on appropriation of funds. It's just a public session where we talk about a respective theme.
I appreciate that. Second question is, what is the difference between mastery and proficiency?
65 and 75
What is our
score. So 65 on Regents is passing or
That's
proficiency, 75 is mastery.
Okay.
For
Okay.
I know, yeah, there's a couple that's
What was it, Dr. Lynn?
Do you know them off the top of your head?
It's 85 is mostly the mastery, but there are some that are, so it depends on the assessment.
So I would love to make a statement that I think Dr. Ryan, you said it very well earlier, but I think that one of the issues that we're running into when we look at mastery, when we look at proficiency, we look at what we're asking our kids to do, is it's push for the sake of push. In my career, I work with people who are looking to get out of pain from around the world, and most of the people who are looking to get out of pain are in pain because they push, and they forgot why they started doing it. And when I look at what we teach our kids to do, I discussed this with you, Dr. Gallagher, and with you, Mr. DeVito. We have them in classes, and we push them in classes. We're lacking free time. We're lacking recess. And we don't have a way to judge mastery or proficiency in emotional intelligence, in empathy, in general communication skills. And we push for it in everything else. I was the kid who, I have a doctorate. I didn't care if I was the last kid to walk across the stage because they call the last person who walks across the stage doctor, whatever your last name is. Never cared. A lot of people who graduated ahead of me now work for me. I think that we need to be careful with how we push our kids and where we push our kids. I'm sorry, your name on the end there, I didn't read it.
Rona.
Ms. Rona, I don't think that you should be depressed that there's nobody here. I think that it's a sign that you should all take, that it's an opportunity that we need to do a better job educating the local public on what the purpose of these meetings are, what the incentive is for coming, and the reality that there can be progress when people do come and people do speak. People won't come if they don't believe that they're heard and that there's incentive to what they're heard about. And I'll wrap up really quickly. Evidence to the fact that you guys do move on things is last 2 weeks ago I came and I asked if we could move the mental health and wellness meeting up. And it's been moved out a full month, credit to Dr. Gallagher, Dr. Manelli. You do make progress. I think it's important that we let the public know that and find ways to make it more attractive for them to come.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else? Board of Education, new or old business?
I just have one thing. I just wanted to say I was reading the Newsday online and I saw a picture of our greenhouse along with some other schools in Nassau County with their agricultural curriculum, and I just thought it was a wonderful way to shine for our students. So I want to thank you guys for that. And also, I just have a quick question about the bathrooms in the gym. This past weekend we had, or 2 weekends ago, we had a volleyball tournament, and we had a lot of schools there. And the girls' bathrooms, they don't close properly at all. we don't really allow for much privacy. So I was wondering when we'd be able to come and take a look at the stalls to see how we can fix them. Mr. DeVito, do you have any ETA on when that'll be repaired?
Well, they've already started to make the repairs on the stalls. They've also ordered new partitions. So we have a short term and more of a, let's say, medium term in terms of fixing them to see if they can align them more closely. They are old and they do get out of whack very easily, but they're still going to do those repairs. And they've already ordered the partitions. I don't know when they're due in. I know there's a bit of a longer lead time than typical because it's one of those COVID-related items that's a little bit longer lead time. And then, as you may remember from last year, overhauling all of the bathrooms in the high school was something that we're putting in our long-term capital plan that we're going to be presenting at the beginning of the next budget cycle. So.
Yes, I know. I appreciate it. Thank you. I was there yesterday again, so I was just wondering when the repairs would be taking place. Thank you. That's all for me.
I just wanted to follow up on that. That was that as many times as I've been in the high school to do the beginning of the year visitations, I've never been in the locker rooms. So maybe in the future when we do that before the beginning of school, those are two areas that we probably should visit. And secondly, I just wanted to give a shout out to you, Mrs. Conway, for moving on this automobile donation. You were instrumental in sort of organizing that and engaging Mr. McPhee and the veterans group. So I just want to publicly thank you for that. And it certainly was a wonderful gesture, and it's kind of set a very nice tone for the meeting tonight. So I publicly wanted to thank you for your advocacy in your work. Moving that along. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, moving along. All right, and all you have to do is give me a signal. Mr. Pinto?
Maureen, go ahead.
Are all the tents purchased and erected and being used on a daily basis?
As far as I know, I haven't heard any problems from the schools. We're still trying to secure those, what we call medium-sized tents, not as large as what we had for moving up in the spring, but bigger than what we have on hand. So we're just waiting for the wedding season to die down. I think we're going to put out another bid for that next week. But the schools are going outside and they are using the tents from what I've been hearing.
Okay, well, I gave my opinion on waiting to put it out to bid again last meeting, so I won't repeat it.
Anybody else?
Yes, I just have one quick thing. I too was reading some news articles about federal funding that I saw last week, and I know that there were approaching deadlines. So I just wanted to make sure that all of our applications are in and that we're going to meet those deadlines for any federal funds that are available.
We will be meeting the deadlines for all of those federal funding programs, and we already received 20% because we're able to submit for a partial, tapping into those funds for the first application that we submitted a couple of months ago, which was the Carissa funds.
Thank you. And I just want to echo what Dr. Ryan said. Thank you. And it was a beautiful way to start the meeting. I had wished that they had heard me. I don't know if the veterans had heard me when I thanked them for their service, but most importantly, they're thanking us. But I think, I'm very grateful for them and what they've done, all of them. So the least we can do is give one veteran a car. I wish we could give them all a car, but it's a start. So thank you for doing all of that. It was beautiful.
Thank you. But I have to tell you, when we were talking about letting students shine, it's the Auto Club. We don't just service our students who are academically smart. We service students who are smart in every single manner possible. And the fact that our students were so generous to work hard on a car that they were going to donate to somebody who put their life down for our country was just an amazing gesture. So thank you all for acknowledging that. But I really want to acknowledge our students and Mr. Johnson and his dad and the Sayville Ambulance Company for donating that. And you, Dr. Gallagher, too, for all your help with this. Thank you.
Just one quick comment on feedback I've been getting from members of the community in regards to food services. There's a lot of people that were happy to see that even though we can offer fruit and fruit juice as equivalents under the FDA rules, they were happy to see that we're taking a step forward and doing fresh fruit for both meals a day instead of fruit juice. So I appreciate that and appreciate the progress on that as well.
Thank you. Questions and comments from the public?
Hi, Megan.
Want
So,
to give your name?
Heather Lacasio, 636
Thank you.
East Lawrence.
Thank you.
So I'm just curious, I've said this before, I've had conversations with people, school tool versus Google Classroom versus Delta Math. We have a lot of programs that we use throughout our district that the teachers use to submit grades, to log in things, school tool, Google Classroom, Delta Math. My question is, one, what are we doing to intertwine all of these together so we have accessibility to see the grades? And two, how do we get our teachers, if Google Classroom is what we use for all the grades to be posted, to be pulled through to report cards, and then they're posted to school tools? Or I might be saying that backwards, school tools. But if they're not posting the grades now, they're waiting until right before report cards. We have no way as parents to know how our kids are doing. When you go into Google Classroom, you can go down and you can see 6, 7 assignments. You can't see the grades in them. The only way to see the grades in them, click on the item, open it up and see if a grade is there. As a parent who's trying to stay on top of this, I spend way too much time checking Google Classrooms, checking school tools, checking Delta Math, and I get a daily Google alert. And I do all of this every single day, but I'm still getting a phone call, an email from a teacher today that my daughter is missing an assignment. Where is this assignment? Nobody can tell me where it is. I just think that I understand that it's a lot of work to put it into Google Classroom and then to put it into Delta Math and then to go to school tools. I understand it's a lot of work, but there has to be something to make it easier for the parents. I work from home, so I have the capabilities, but what do you do for the parents who don't have the capabilities, or a single parent who works 2 jobs? This is a job in itself. So I just wanted to put, if we can please do something to fix this, because honestly, it's just this. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Let's see. Any announcement? Oh, sorry.
Sean Bascucci, West Market Street. So, Dr. Varney, you brought up Mr. Varney brought up the tent, and last week we talked about the reason why you all voted on the masks had to do with not having to quarantine kids should somebody test positive. And I wanted to just bring up that I did research over the last week, and I had in England last time. I didn't want to speak on it because I wasn't sure. The quarantine of kids after that would be a CDC recommendation, not a mandate from the state. And I want to keep things off of the record, so I don't want to speak to other CDC recommendations that we are already disregarding with our kids. And I just wanted to make sure that you all understand, you actually do have a choice. And you're choosing it in some cases and not in others. That's okay. Not everybody in the world should agree with me. I just want to make sure that you all understand that it is a choice, that it's not something that are tied to one another. If any of you would like, I'm happy to email you the details of that along with references. In the first meeting when we talked about this, we talked about the idea that they were rates at a certain point, and then we were going to talk about when we asked the state when things would change. I'm still waiting to hear data on that. Since that first meeting, kid hospitalizations in New York State were now from 7 over a 2-week span to 6 in total. And I reached out to the state and to the county prior to this meeting. We don't even have figures because they're not sure that there were any over the last 2 weeks, child hospitalizations, despite the fact that schools have been open when they weren't before. So kids are inside around each other. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. I know you may not be able to answer, but I'm curious. And furthermore, the last thing I'll say is, I believe my concern, my real concern, if we're really talking about the agenda, vaccination mandates are next. I am vaccinated, my wife is vaccinated, my parents are vaccinated. A client of mine, a 31-year-old man, just had a heart attack directly as a result of the vaccine, validated by the doctor who asked him to get vaccinated. He's the one who told him this happened because of the vaccination and a reaction to it. I'm not saying the vaccine is a problem. I got it, I would get it again. What I'm speaking to is we don't have a problem for our kids being sick and dying, any kind of a rate that is something worth risking secondary harm to them. And that's coming next. And that's my big concern. That is like a do you move to Florida or Texas kind of concern for me and my family. And it's something that I would really love to hear from all of you about. What do we do with him when that happens?
Anybody else?
I would like you to say, could you send that,
Absolutely.
information to Lori Dolan, the district clerk, and then she could send it out to all of us?
Yes, I just want to be clear before I do that. I don't want you to take action on the things that you're not following right now. I think you're making the right decision on many of the things that you're not following right now. And I would hate for any correspondence I send out to change those policies. So I would.
Then only send it to me.
The announcements? One was Special Teachers Association.
I'd just take a moment to thank and congratulate the children of the Auto Club and Auto Program. It's truly amazing what they're able to accomplish. The talents of Mr. Johnson, I'd like to thank the district and the school board for supporting these hands-on career technical courses and credits. And everything else.
Thank you. Administrative Supervisor at DPS Group. LBSCA. Parent Teacher Organization. Student Organization. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
Good night.